that that in reality, I think a lot of people out there, including buyers, you know, large organizations, etc., aren't aware of the accreditation process itself. So I'm just trying to get to my button here, by the way. I've got that many windows on, I'm going to show you here. So I'm trying to get to, there we are, I think. Because you can't see the full screen, can you, at the moment? That's what I'm...
Have you put it up on slideshow? If you have, then if you go back and share, you should be able to find the window with the slideshow on.
Right, so...
Slideshow from beginning.
That's what I'm trying to click on, actually, Linda, and it's...
It's got a little, on my screen, I can see you've got a little chevron, a drop down, which says resume slideshow. So maybe if you click on that, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I can't, funny enough, my end, I can't see that. Let's try again. Let's,
you see, you guys, now you can appreciate the problem I have when I'm bringing up presentations.
Yeah, I found there's another button, but interesting enough, it just seems to be, let's try that.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah. I seem to have a few those as if they were copied. So yeah, just to point out, there's a lot of companies not aware of this situation regarding 17021, which is the accreditation standard for relating to management system accreditation. So all the organisation may have heard of, like British Standards Institute and Lloyd's Register, etc. I think Linda's got an association, or Whyy, with the British Assessment Bureau, isn't it? Bureau Veritas.
Bureau Veritas, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are what's known as the certification body. So we're going to walk through the accreditation process, or I'm going to with you, and the where it all sort of the hierarchy of control of accreditation. And I don't know whether you're aware, but some of the organizations out there are certificated. There's a myth about that, which we'll go into. They'll say we've got, you know, we're certificated to ISO 9001, and but it might not be an accredited certification. They may hold a certificate, but not with an accredited body. So these are the sort of things I'm going to explain this morning. If you've got any questions at all, by the way, please ask as we go along. To go along this sort of presentation. What about clicking buttons? Yeah, so this is just going to be some foundation awareness training. A lot of the training, by the way, that organizations do, they go straight into auditing, you know, or what 9001 is, for instance. So just on that question, what is ISO 9001? What does that standard relate to? Do you know, anyone? Hand goes up, great. Sure.
It's a QMS, Quality Management System.
That is right. So it's that's relating to quality management system. How about ISO 14001? What is that focusing on?
That's your environmental.
That is right. That's an environment. So that's what we talk about, all management systems. And just to point out that 17021 covers all of these management systems. There are other accreditations you can have for product accreditation, you know, standards and things like that. There's loads of them. There's, you know, that's either through, it's a British standard that's just approved in the UK, or it could be an international standard, which is the ISO. It's got ISO in front of it, that means international standards. And what's the O letter stand for? Do you know? Anyone?
Organization.
Yeah, that is correct. So good that you know that. You've trained them well, Linda.
Good.
It's a little bit about myself. I've been involved, I think it's heading towards some like 37 years now. I'm a member of the Chartered Quality Institute, and I'm also an IRCA registered principal auditor. I'm a member of IEMA, that's the environmental institute. I'm also sort of qualified as a tech IOSH with health and safety. I'll explain a little bit the reasons behind that in a moment, but that's me. So I have worked for a number of certification bodies, and I've sort of set up a new certification body as well. So you know, my aim is to pass on some of the knowledge that I've picked up over, say, probably 37 years in the industry. So there's a little bit about me. You can see UCAS is mentioned there. Do you know what? Have you seen? You're aware of UCAS?
That's the
Everyone?
first thing that I thought of when you said about accreditation as opposed to certification, because we were looking at changing to like a UKAS accredited
Body.
Yeah, body.
Yes. Which is good. So I did mention to the group yesterday, there's and this is just 9001, by the way. I think there's 1.2 million based on this body that I'm going to introduce to you shortly, called IAF, International Accreditation Forum. They reckon worldwide there's 1.2 million companies got 9001. But that would only be information about organizations that have got what's known as, you say, accredited certification, you know, with such as UCAS, for instance. But there's another rake of companies out there, like yourself, George. You say you've got the company you work for, you've got 9001, have you?
Yeah, through QMS.
Yeah, which is QMS. They're the unaccredited, one of the unaccredited body. But
We could tell without you having to tell us.
Well, dare I ask, how could you tell, George, they were unaccredited? Was the way they operated, was it?
I think just it felt too easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were points where I was going, this shouldn't be this easy.
As it should be. Yeah. Well, this is why I say I don't know who made the decision in your organization, but someone would probably not look into it and you know, I do believe there's companies out there want to do it properly, you know, and then they're unaware. And I think there's another set of organizations that are quite happy to have as long as there's a certificate, you know, they're happy with that. The only problem, where the problem starts, is then when if one of your, you know, a customer asked to see a copy of a certificate, if it's a requirement of their contract and it's not UCAS accredited, that, you know, you could lose the contract or may not gain that contract, you know, because that may be in lots of tender documents that you must be ISO 9001 approved, for instance, you know, as an organization. Little bit, finish off just about myself, by the way. So yeah, I've been fortunate. So I've been overseas a lot, you know, China, Korea, France, all sorts of countries, you know, looking at what they do, because we, one of the certification bodies I ran for 25 years, we had agents, you know, working in those countries. We were a UCAS body, as I say, and they were agents of ours. So I used to go out there looking at what they did and, you know, looking at systems, which was quite interesting as a comparison. Oh yeah, what we're sort of on this introductory sort of stage, but we're going to look at this accreditation hierarchy, because there is an hierarchy that people aren't aware of, which includes this International Accreditation Forum, which are known as IAF. Have you heard of that at all, body, by the way, that body? So they are crucial to this, by the way. And then we've got, it runs in this order, basically. We're going to look at UCAS Accreditation Service. And I pointed out, didn't I, Linda, to the group yesterday, there is now a sort of a national directory of certificated companies on the UCAS website. So, you know, like your company, George, if you typed in your company's name, you know, you can do a search on there. It'll flag up if that company is certificated or not. You see what I mean? And if that company's named, if you are with a UCAS accredited body, your name should come up there, you know. I find it quite interesting this morning. I was doing a few search on some companies I'm aware of, and after about 3 or 4 searches, it blocks you.
Oh.
Now I know why that is. It's to stop people like me who works for a certification body looking at, you know, competitors and trying to find new customers, you know. So I'm sure, because I was part of the UCAS meeting that mentioned that. So yeah, after about 3 or 4 goes at it for that day, then it'll stop you. So that's on a day-by-day basis, you see. So is everyone okay with that? Say if there's anything else you want me to sort of include as we go along, please ask. So kicking off with UCAS, for instance, have you been on their website at all? UCAS themselves? Well,
No.
This is just a screenshot of their website. So UCAS is the body that's recognised by the government. You might be able to just read that at the bottom of underneath the picture. That's the only body in the UK that is has got the authority or recognised by the government to accredit certification bodies. Is that okay with that? Yeah. So that, I mean, Linda wrote to me a couple of days ago about another organisation who was pertaining, and there was 1 or 2 who were pertaining to be competing, you know, against UCAS in the sense that we can accredit certification bodies, but they got no power, they got no credibility because they're not approved by the government. There's only UCAS that is.
Yeah.
And what does UCAS stand for? Those letters?
Shadia, can you answer that one? Give Shadia a go, George. Come on.
Shadi, go on. You
Sorry, I do apologize. I was on mute. It's a United Kingdom Association Services, something like that.
You're very close. It's
be
United Kingdom Accreditation Service.
You're so close, Shadia. Well done.
That's right. Now, I did mention to the group yesterday, and you'll see a lot of marketing salespeople get this wrong, and to be aware of that, because you will read this. You'll see a company, it could be Whyy, not saying they have done this or whatever, but say Whyy, they've got ISO 9001 approval, and then some of the marketing people start writing, you know, advertising the fact, and they'll say we're accredited to 9001. But that actually is incorrect. They'll be certificated to 9001. You know what I mean? So a company's become certificated, not accredited. It might be an accredited certificate that's issued. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And there is a fundamental difference there. The accreditation authorities are people like UCAS, and in most countries there is an equivalent to UCAS. So, which you'll see coming up shortly. So, for example, in America, the equivalent to UCAS is ANAB.
Yeah.
Okay. And most countries, you've got the Dutch. There's a Dutch UCAS equivalent, say Spain, everywhere really, and we'll see. So we'll show you that. So sitting above UCAS is IAF. Okay, that's the International Accreditation Forum. So UCAS are a member of the International Accreditation Forum, and the American body is ANAB and the others as well. So they sit at the top. George, you got a question?
I was going to say, is it similar to like other international things similar to this, where there's certain countries that just are never part of it and sort of go their own way?
Yes and no. That 99% of countries have signed up to this. There is a reason behind this, because this you'll see when I bring up that website with IAF. It's basically to put some structure to this, you know, because I mean, I wish I was your age. When I was your age, actually, George, it was ISO 9001 was known as BS 5750, which was the quality standard in the UK, you know, and every other country, they all had different numbers for their quality standards. So of course there was no consistency. If you're going to export abroad, you know, and you said, well, somebody said, have you got a quality award? You say 5750. In China wouldn't know what that means. But so this is what's known as standardization, where now if you know, if you've got 14,001, 9,001, 22,301, you know, business continuity award, they are recognized worldwide now, you see. So we've got this standardization, recognition of standards, and they are exactly the same. Do you see what I mean? So in reality, which is great really, because I remember the days when someone would say, like in China, say we've got this quality award, but it wouldn't match the same as BS 5750. But I say, being out in those countries, witnessing assessments that I have, it's great to see. It might be written in Chinese, but it's exact 9001 is exactly the same as we've got here, you know. Likewise, 17021. Now, why 17021 is mentioned here? That is the standard that the certification bodies for management systems are assessed to. That's the criteria. So
can I just say as well, sorry, Benny, can I just
No
say as
problem.
well, you can see why we've now got a standard that goes globally. If we didn't have certification bodies that were meeting the same standards in the different countries, it blows it out of the water, because like you said, George, your certification body, they're not UCAS accredited, so they're not being challenged against 1721. Yeah, so they're not able to, they're not giving the same quality of service to your company. And in that, it means that it's easier to get a standard, but actually you're not getting the same benefits. So having a standard that's global, but not having the authorities to monitor it globally to the same standard, it makes it farcical. So it's so important that the IAF are there, and then the companies, the accreditation services across the world are working to the same standards and certifying certification bodies to the same standards as well.
That's right. Thanks for that. That is exactly right. Yeah, and we've got to say it's that recognition, you see, you know, of these organisations. Now I'm just going to try and share the screen with you, if that's okay. So we'll go back to that. Just bringing up this IAF website. There we go. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Great. So this is the IAF website, all readily available for you to follow up some of this information if you're interested. But you'll see here, this is the it'll tell you what about them, which I've got up here. The international is it's a worldwide association of accreditation bodies in the fields of management systems, products and processes. So its function is to develop a single worldwide program conformity assessment, you see. So from there, I talked about members in different countries. You can see the accreditation bodies. And was doing this yesterday, wasn't it, Linda? And it just giving you a flavour. You can see Austria's there, look, and there's the ANAD one.
You got one there for Morocco, Tony?
I think there wasn't there? Did we see one yesterday? I can't. I know that when we went to, I think there is one for Morocco. When we went to page 4, by the way. So this is your checks if you wanted to, is this body, an accredited body recognised by IAF, their member signatory. If you go, can you see UCAS bottom right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I mean? So there's Turkey and Sweden and all sorts, you see. Now, the idea of this, by the way, and it's a very powerful, George used the example of his QMS certificate. Now, you see, if you were with UCAS and it went out to any of these countries, these member states, they recognise that certificate. That's what they've signed up to. But if George, if it's an unaccredited certificate that you've been kind enough to explain to us, that wouldn't be recognised because it's not approved by an accredited authority. So it all starts from this body here. in terms of accreditation is the International Accreditation Forum, IAF. Should mention also on here, there's some very useful information, IF documents in there, which are, because of limited time, would be documents like IF MD5 will tell you how for calculating the assessment days, you know, for different types of organizations, dependent upon their complexity and type of products and services. It breaks it down for the assessing bodies to calculate time on site. Now, take your organization, George. How many staff have you got there?
Sorry, who you were talking? Were you talking to us?
Yeah,
or
I'm
George?
trying
Yeah,
to.
George. Yeah, I said to George.
I'm trying to apply, but I'm muting myself. About
It's okay.
45.
45 they are. So there'll be a table there. We'll tell you how many days that assessment should be. You know, the initial assessment. So yeah, there's lots of guidance documents anyway. That's good information, particularly if you're an accredited body. But there's some information that companies can use as well, like yourselves. You know.
Yeah.
Any questions about IF and there? Bear in mind, this is where it pulls everything together, this standardization across the world. And we've got member organizations from different countries.
You can see if you got suppliers which are based in different countries, and actually, Shadia, you're a global organization. So although we talk in this country about we want them to see UKAS accreditation on certificate, it may be for you guys with global suppliers that they're going to have some of those other countries' stamps on there. So if you want to see, because obviously, are they legitimate? Is that a real organisation? You can go on the IAF to see if that is. Because as Tony said, I had one which I think was the IAB was what they were coming back as.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so international. So I didn't know because I'm not in the UK and I had not heard of them as a certification body or anything. So that's where I went to Tony and he's like, no, it's not. They created this other organisation.
Yeah.
So from that, I was able to tell.
So
Isn't it amazing how far the Wild West still goes?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, interesting enough, this is where you check, you know, if anybody, there's an organisation down in Bournemouth, funnily enough, there. I know the story behind it, but anyway, they try to compete with UCAS. And I know there's one or two bodies that are approved by them, but their certificates wouldn't be recognised because if they're not on this list, which you've seen UCAS on there, you've got no chance, you know. A number of the certification bodies as well are now putting the IAF logo on the certificates they issue to customers alongside the UCAS one, to show it's part of that. But bear in mind, as I said, yeah, the real crunch should be you send a certificate to those other countries, it's not going to be recognised if it's with bodies like Linda mentioned, you know, it has to be UCAS. So can you see how all this fits in? It's a bit like a jigsaw, really.
Yeah.
Any questions, anyone,
at the moment with that? No?
I think you've been quite clear, Tony.
Yeah. Now I'm just going to bring up another website. So they sit at the top, IF, and now we're going to go to, if I can see them, is UCAS. So, in fact, probably if I'd have just 1 second, I think I've got it open. Shut that down a minute. I realised we probably could have picked it up from that website, funnily enough.
There would have been a link to it.
There would have been a link, and I floated over it, but anyway, we'll be there in a minute. Yeah, I floated over it, Linda, so I probably could have used that as the...
Always the way, Tony.
Here we go, yeah. There we go. Now, I don't know if you've been on this website, guys, but this is the UCAS website. Has it come up okay?
Yeah.
It has, yeah.
Yeah, great. So we're on this trail, aren't we, of from the IF down to UKAS, and they've signed up to say with all these other organisations worldwide that their certificates will be recognised if they get seen. And I was talking yesterday, there's lots of information on here again, but they have added last month, it's as new as this, and lots of people aren't aware of this, but I want to share this with you because I say we're going through the UKAS accreditation process as an organisation at the moment, and we're at the back end of that now, where we've just got 2 audits to be witnessed, which I was mentioning yesterday. But this is what I wanted to point out to this here. Can you see certificate check?
Yeah.
This is the one I got blocked on this morning, by the way, because I thought, well, I'm going to show. I thought I'll just run through this. I'll show you a company which came up, but now it's sound blocked. But basically, you put the company name in there. You can also search by certificate number, but the company name, and then if you are accredited with UKAS, a UKAS accredited certification body, your name should come up. Yeah, this facility wasn't available before. You'd have to go to your certification body. So so UKAS, they don't just do certification. They, they assess laboratories. This is the management system one we're talking about. This bit here they've got on here, accreditation versus certification, which are what's the difference? You see, there's a video on there about that, which I've talked about. The accreditation is being accredited as a body to accredit certification bodies. Certification is where you are certificated by an accredited body such as BSI or whatever.
Yeah.
This management system, you can validate. They are. So they're talking about fake ones. I don't think they're quite right. I know 1 or 2 unaccredited certification bodies have been operating years, and they probably do the assessment as well as, an accredited company like BSI. I've seen that. It's just that they didn't go through. I mean, on average, it costs about £35,000, which I'm at the moment, paying to become UKAS accredited, going through all the processes, you see. So it's quite an investment.
Wow.
which some companies haven't done.
And you pay on then year on year as well. Not so much year on year, but you're still paying.
Wow. Well done, Tony.
Well, about that, you've got to have deep pockets for this sort of thing,
Yeah.
And I was telling the group yesterday, even the logos, of the certification bodies, because we'll have a look at certification bodies, I think, if we go. But yeah, even the logo, to get the our logo trademarked, it's a requirement of the standard, So engage some solicitors, and this company, there's an inspection authority in America somewhere that because they did a similar thing. It wasn't quite the same, with a similar name. So they contested a couple of things. So there's 1 or 2 solicitors' letters going back and forth. So there was another few £1,000 paid, which so it's not easy. But that is part of the accreditation standard 17021. So if you remember, everyone, that's what you're assessed to as a certification body. But yeah, this is there's always, so I'll go on this website quite a lot because there's always latest information you can find. But I think what would be good if we said who's accredited. Let's test this for you. So search accredited organizations. So we'll go for that. And shall we go for, so it's an organization type, their certification body. So there, we're going to go for that. And we'll put in the name. So we go for British standards.
Yeah.
Only because they're one of the bigger ones. British standards. There's nothing
They don't
showing there.
I wonder if
exist.
it's under BSI.
They're not approved. They've lost their approval.
There we are.
There we are. Look, so you got to get your your search right. But there you are. There's BSI. You see. Now the reason is just to share with you as well. Can you see their names come up 3 times? Because it breaks it down. That could be a proof of product inspection, your laboratory inspection. And I did say, don't I, Linda, I've written to UCAS about this because
Yeah.
on the search at the moment, you don't know. All you see is the name and the numbers. We have to guess. So
Yeah.
one of these is going to be to do with management system certification to 9114. So I don't know, it's a bit like a roulette game, isn't it, this? So which one we're going to go for? Pick one. Top, second one down, third or fourth.
Try that one that you've got now. Let's
go
that's
for that
listed
one.
twice. It's just
Yeah.
right, yeah.
So if we click on then search, and I say sometimes these things don't work as well as they.
It's
still-
working.
Yeah,
it's
it's
still
working.
working.
So what Tony's saying is that the certification bodies could be accredited against other standards as well.
Yeah.
And that's why they're listed 4 times for the 4 different standards they're accredited against. But without actually going into each listing on that field there, we can't see which one is the 1721.
Yeah, it could be laboratories and other things, So you see, you can do a search this way. So let's try this. So we're looking at management systems. Can you say like we've got product, person, certification? So there's all these different types. So we're going to go for quality management, which obviously is in ISO 9001. Now these are what's known as, just be worth remembering, if you do get approval with a certification body that's accredited, of course, the accreditation bodies, hopefully appreciate, aren't approved for everything. They might be approved for basic metals. Can you see that IF 17? Should point out, by the way, there's 39 codes in total, you see. That's broken down to sectors of industry. So what about yours, George? What does your company do?
We manufacture like modular bathrooms and showers.
Right, so the manufacturers, so you're going to be something like, oh yeah, that's
There's
going to be
23.
That's the one, exactly. You've passed that. Now, funny enough, these are the sort of jobs I have at the certification body. When someone applies, you have to try and pigeonhole them, put them into what sector they do. So you've passed that.
Have another.
Yeah. So you've passed that test, George. So yeah, you got to say, well, this company falls under IF 23. So if we click on that,
And actually, Shardia, yours might be the same. So Shardia's is lifts, isn't it? You're supplying and installing lifts. Maybe it's slightly different because part of you manufacture, don't they? Yeah.
It's a Shardia, yeah. If there's some manufacturer, they'd be under 18.
Yeah.
Equipment, that would be.
Right, okay.
Now there you are, look. Sorry?
No, just Bureau Veritas.
Yeah, your companions. There you are. So these are the companies now, as you'll see, that's what I said earlier, not everyone on the list, it's accredited. There's my old company I used to work for, DNV. You've got links to the websites as well, TUV.
What I feel, yeah.
I don't know how many that goes on to, but I was talking about this yesterday. I think there's this seems to have put them, or has it? No. Yeah, there's normally about, I think there's over 100 plus anyway certification bodies, but I said they're not all going to be accredited. So you got lots to choose from. you know, to get a quotation. I mean, of course, the certification body I work for is far better than any of these, but we're far more
We're still at the top of the list.
we're far more cost effective and far more friendly and knowledgeable, but that's another story. Is that helpful, guys? Though, can you see? So you can choose, you know, double check if you know you're getting quotes from certification bodies, or you know that they are accredited with UCAS by going on here. And I say now that you've got this ability, if you remember what I said earlier, to even do a cert check on it. Have Whyy got ISO 9001?
Not yet. No, we're planning to, so we're working towards it.
Yeah.
So
you're like me, I'm working towards UCAS accreditation.
yeah. So this time next year, there's an expectation that we've achieved
You will have it, yeah.
what our goal is.
Yeah.
And we move onwards.
Great. No, and I think everyone's at, you know, you're at the stage that you are. I think I don't know how powerful this directory is going to be in the end, because it didn't exist before, but you can imagine a buyer, you know, if they become aware of it, they're going to use that more and more. So where in the past you might have to send a certificate, you know, the purchasing department say, can you send a copy of your certificate, or some department, they'll be able to just check online now.
Well, I can see this needs to be promoted more, because we're aware of some weird and wonderful people out there trying to, you know, say that they do certain things, and this is a very powerful tool.
I think so. Well, I think so. So going back to QMS, for instance, believe it or not, I don't think it's changed. You know, when I attend meetings, UCAS and that, they'll even say that QMS have got more certificates than BSI, you know, issued out there, interestingly enough. So how it will affect their business, you know, or their business model, and whether they're going to have to try and get accreditation. But as I said, the biggest problem, as you'll see, is that the QMSs will help companies, you know, the unaccredited ones. They'll do consultancy as well as issue a certificate. Well, of course, you can't be both. You can't be poacher and gamekeeper, is what we normally say in our game. You know, you're basically checking your own. You're proving your own work, you see, at the end of the day. So that's not allowed. Any questions about this at all as I'm about to move on? But yeah, bear in mind, say it's not just management systems. You can see it's other standards as well. There's the interesting thing. Look, then we talked about numbers yesterday, didn't we? In terms of certificate. So there's actually 115 certification bodies. Maybe the company I've got will be the 116th Aligned Certification, but time will tell.
Keep watching that number, Tony.
Yeah, okay, that's right. Certifications is interesting on here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, this is, when I said 1.2 million was worldwide.
So when it says certifications, when is that companies?
Good question. Well, I did try and say this earlier, but that's a good way of reiterating what I was trying to say. Yeah, those are, it's a good way of showing this. Certification bodies, that they would be accredited with UCAS, 115. Bear in mind, ANAB, America may have more, you know. Some UK bodies would have certification with UCAS as well as ANAB, but that's tending to disappear now, because remember what I said earlier, IAF, if they recognise bodies, they all recognise their certificates. So why pay for accreditation twice? You see? Yeah. So to answer your question, yeah, those are companies that are certificated
in the UK.
In 86, you got certified. And
could one company have multiple certifications though, like we saw on that list? Yeah, that is. Oh, you can get in it. You see, right. So he's doing his own work here. I'm impressed with this. Yeah. Did you type your company's name in there? I've got it up on mine, but if you start typing it, if it doesn't start coming up, I don't think it's there.
So it's not going to be there yet, because when you start typing, when you use it, you know, after a few letters, names start coming up, you see. But yeah, the certification bodies were very worried about the potential of, you know, their competitors getting client names off there, you see. That's why after about 4 searches, you get blocked.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's useful information just to be aware, and that's what the idea of today, you know, this morning, just to make you aware of these things are easily available. And when stuff's on the telly boring, as I was saying to Linda yesterday, you know, if there's Coronation Street's on the telly, instead of watching that, you know, drop onto some of these websites, because you'll pick up lots of information. Right, so no other questions on this then. On what I'm going to do. Yeah, I say some good videos, by the way, on there as well, which are, say, because of time.
It is important to, George, and this website helps you, as if Tony shows you his in a bit as well, you'll see that information. When you do transfer to a certification body that's accredited, then that means that there is, can you see the little crown at the top?
Yeah, you get that logo on all your
Yeah,
documents.
but you have to be careful how you use it. So I don't know if you're going to go through that today, Tony, or not.
I can do. I've got
Can we not put it on like? Can we not put it on t-shirts? Basically, we can't like get it tattooed on our arms.
I'll tell you interesting thing. I was saying the story about, which I'm happy to share, because not many people know this now. It's only because of my age. But when I was at a meeting, when I first got involved in this about 37 years ago, they explained why. And I was saying this to the people. Yes, you know, like a Royal Mail, you've got the crown mark on the vehicles, haven't you? Royal Mail. And what that was down to the royal family, you see, because they were appointed by the Royal Mail, that is, you know, approved supplier of the, in other words, you know, of the royal family, you see. So there was only suppliers to the royal family. They were allowed to use the crown.
Right.
You know. And when UCAS then became set up and they were allowed to use that crown, they wouldn't allow it, this is a royal family, you know, to be on vehicles, for instance, because it's on Royal Mail, you know. So if ever you see a vehicle, you're driving around and you see, hang on, that's got, you know, approved by BSI, NQA or whatever, and it's got the crown by it, that shouldn't be the case, because the rules are you can't, there's rules on certification, you can't use it on vehicles.
Do I ring the police then in that case, or do I ring UCAS?
Very well, you've raised a good point there, because it's very difficult to police, but they shouldn't be doing. And the assessors, when they go in each time, and something I push with our auditors, it's a requirement of 17021. That's the standard that you have to achieve. It's a requirement at each visit that you check that it's being used correctly.
And they do, because that was a non-conformance in one of my audits in Tony's previous company when I first took over.
Yes.
And we'd got some lovely fancy stickers saying we were 9001 certified.
Yeah.
We'd got it all there with a crown. It looked lovely. And it's like, that shouldn't be on there for a start.
You party pooper.
Yeah, no, let's take them all off and redo them all.
And if you think what Linda's saying, though, think of the cost.
Yeah.
If you don't, this is why people jump in. When I worked for DNV, 2 very quick stories on this with you. We approved we was assessing Renault dealerships, you know, the big car sales showrooms. And I went to do the first surveillance visit at one down in London, massive car sales showroom. And I had these big logos, massive, they were printed, you know, these stickers going onto the glass. And they'd put BSI, but they were with DNV, we was this, you know, the certifying body. And they'd got the BSI logo, as if they were approved with BSI. Because they originally
them all down, Tony. Did you go?
Well, I'll tell you what happened was when I walked in there, that was before the audit started, you see. So I thought non-conforming straight away. So
Yeah.
And the other example was on flags. Yeah, I went to another company, I got the flag flying with the crown on. You know, pulled up on the car park and these flags were flying with this crown on. and 9001 accredited with that logo. So straight away, you know, you're at the opening meeting, and by the way, I've got a non-conformance for you, you know. So that's what you get if you don't follow the rules. Yeah, I was going to say, but just going to, if I come out of here then, if that's okay a moment. So
Are you trying to get back to stop sharing your screen?
I am there nearly now, Linda. Yeah. So I've opened quite a few windows to share, you see, but sometimes on mine it just looks a blur when you first look at it.
Yeah.
As you'd appreciate. But I was just going to go back to the slides when it loads back up here. I think there we go. So just a bit of a tour for you. So we've looked at the IEF website. Let's see if I can bring this up. They are. So I was just reiterating, 17021 is the standard that we're trying to work to. In terms of the process, by the way, the application with UCAS at about £4,000. And then what you have to go through, whether you want it or not, is called a preliminary assessment. So we had 2 auditors for 2 days. And then we had a head office audit after that, going through everything for 2 auditors for 3 days. And then the last stage is to where the auditors are witnessed carrying out the assessment. Yeah. So all that's in 17021. But as you'd appreciate, there's a lot about compet. I'm just going to touch on a few things here now regarding the standard. So that's the standard. About £250 that costs. I hope you're making a note of all these costs, by the way, as we're going.
Can I just ask, has anybody noted a non-conformity? Because it was something I was going to ask you about, and then you brought the standard out. So you've got 2015 on your standard, but on your side it says 2012.
Yeah, well, I didn't have time to update it, Linda.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Non-conformity, let's move on.
You're not supposed to be auditing that. That's why I took it off the top.
Yeah, you could cut us off now, Linda.
What I was about to say was that they are reviewed. They are reviewed. You're funny for saying that though, Linda. They are reviewed, and they've decided not to update this one, like 9001 at the moment. You know, with COVID and that.
Yes. Yeah. So
there has been some. So normally they're reviewed every 5-6 years, by the way, or can change, like with 9001. I'm going to say 170. How familiar are you with 9001, if I may ask? Are you very familiar with it? Yeah.
With the 9001, should be, yeah.
So we're more common with it.
We are.
Well, George's company haven't got to be too familiar with it because they're with QMS, so they're not going to look too closely at it.
But he's fixing it, Tony. He's fixing it.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of overlap. For example, we have to. So I'm not going to cover everything, but we have to do management review meetings. You know, we have to, as a certification body, undertake internal audits. You know, we have to have complaints. But what we have to be, and we're talking about this, is critical, is be impartial. You know, you can't, as we touched on earlier, be, you know, providing consultancy and things like that. You know.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, 17021, as we touched on earlier, covers some management systems, or should I rephrase that, all management systems. I've got some on there. So we talked about, can you remember what 45,001's relating to, anyone? We did say 14 was EMS, 9's quality.
Health and safety.
Yeah, and we've also got some other ones. 27,001, what's that relating to?
Is one of them's like data protection.
Information security is 27,001. Business continuity 22,301. So all of those fall under the umbrella of 17021, you see. You okay with that?
Yeah.
Can you remember, guys, when you did your auditing, that all of those management system standards come under Annex SL? So they have the 10 hierarchy clauses. Do you have this? Does that come the same when it comes to 1721, Tony?
It is, yeah. It is,
Yeah.
Linda, yeah, it's exactly the same. I have got some stuff up here, and that's why the 2012 is referenced, by the way, because I just wanted to say earlier, which we have touched on though, as I say, it's not just certification, that's the inspection logo.
Right, yeah.
Because we did training in 17020, you see, Linda, that's why the 12 and 15 was there. But just so you can see the logo's different? UCAS, that's what I wanted to point out.
Yeah.
You see, it's a different logo. So again, for you guys, when you look at the logos, look underneath, because it'll either say inspection, you know, or management systems is 17021. Inspection is 17065, you see. But very similar what you said, Linda, you know, that management system, impartiality, that sort of thing. We didn't do this on the UCAS website, but you know, when we looked at the approval, we did it a slightly different way, but everyone's got a schedule, you see. So if it's 17065 or 17021, every assessing body, which I did touch on earlier, just bear in mind that they're not accredited for everything. So if you do what you've said you do, or whatever type of work you do, just check their schedule. It'll give you a list of what sections they're covered for. Now, George identified, do you remember the IF code you said that your company fell under scope, you know, the sectors?
Was it 27?
No, it's 23.
Oh,
yeah, it was
close.
actually 23.
Yeah.
Just seeing if you're still listening, you see, George. It's only my style. But yeah, but it was good how you pinpointed that. But you're right, it is that, you know, it's, but yeah, just be aware of it, because people are buying off a certificate. They don't even read the scope of what the approval is for. You know, your products and services should be on the certificate. It should match. But sometimes the buyers don't look, you know, they're buying a service for someone. I found that a couple of weeks ago. They said they were buying security, but the company was approved for something totally different. But the buyer didn't check that. They just thought, oh, we've got a copy of the certificate, so that's it, you see. Yeah, so there is different in the standard. This is a little bit out the standard. You could be a type A or B. So that's just basically if you run a management system or not. If you don't, you have to jump through some other hoop. Now, what we mean by management systems, we mean you know, you've got a manual, you've got procedures, you say you do internal audits, that sort of thing. Little bits out to the standard, just to give you a flavour. This, we talked about impartiality earlier. Look, they've got to be carried out impartially. So if I was employing you guys and, you know, you'd done the consultancy there, you normally it has to be a 2-year gap before you'd be allowed to do the you know, assessment at that company. You know, we've had no engagement, no involvement. All of our auditors have to complete what's called the declaration of interest forms. You they have to record which companies they're involved with, you know. And if they were going to put on a job, if you knew, you know, they'd have to flag up, say, I can't do that job because I've worked with them or I've provided consultancy. And it's broken down in clause numbers, like you can see here. Now, just to give you a flavour, these are the sort of things we have to consider, and we have a risk register for this. This is information that could affect impartiality. Now, 17065, 170, all the standards are very similar. The numbers are the same, like Annex SL. Again, payments, you know, commissions and stuff, we're not allowed to do that because that could affect impartiality. You know, there might be a bias sort of thing. You got to be part of a legal entity. You got to have available staff, you know, technical people who are knowledgeable of different sectors, as you've seen. The legal entity, that would be like, you know, being registered Companies House, you know, as a limited company, for instance. You have to sign a confidentiality statement. That's what that's saying. So again, to give you a flavour, that we have a confidentiality statement, so you'd have to sign that so that you won't. But there's always that caveat at the end, you know, except as required by law, because if there was a legal issue, of course, the police would have access to that information. So, interesting enough, Linda, I didn't mean that to happen there. That's an hour we've just spent. I know you guys, it's hard, you know, I didn't want to see, it's difficult to go into too much depth here at the moment, because hopefully I'll try to pitch this at the, you know, the level to give you some information that you can take with you and follow up on that, you know. Any questions, anyone?
I was gonna ask, like, is it just for quality systems? Because like where I used to work, like they worked with metals a lot, so there was like NADCAP and things like that for like heat treatment, or is that like, are they completely separate bodies and it's nothing to do with, is UKAS just for like equality and that sort of stuff?
No, if you looked on the website, I did touch on it earlier. I'm glad you asked it. I did say laboratories and various other standards as well. Product. For product, it's 17065, but it's very similar like these numbers here. You know, the numbering's the same. It's just the competence, really, George. But yeah, there are different standards. That's why I put in here that logo there. Can you see inspection?
Yeah.
Well, they're not just for management systems, they're covering all sorts of things, and it is on the website clearly. Yeah.
So I think that's where I've seen it before, not companies that are actually approved, but when something's been inspected, like for heat treatment or for forging, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's metal standards and that, and you can become like fabrication stuff and that, you know, that you can become accredited to, which is like part of product, you know. I mean, non-destructive testing, you know, dye penetrant and magnetic particle, and that you can be, you know, approved as that's like a test inspection body again, you know.
So you can see, for you guys, potentially looking at your own company, you've got the right certification bodies going through for you, but certainly when you're looking at your supply chain as well, opportunities for expansion, if you looking for particular things that you might want to be an accredited body for something that's going to help some other companies in your industry. But you can also see, particularly that last bit where Tony went through and showed you what is in the standard for 1721, that if you don't have a certification body that's accredited, that they don't have to comply to any of that. And part of that impartiality means that although this is a business, that Tony can't just focus on getting money in and getting clients through the door. He has to make sure that he follows those steps, and he has a separate committee that makes sure that he does that as impartiality. And another certification body that's not accredited, they're going to be focused on money, which is why they've not gone for the accreditation, really, isn't it, Tony?
Well, that's right. I think because they've got a big client base, you know, of client base, you know, that they're not doing just certification with them, they're doing consultancy as well. So if they went for UKAS accreditation, their turnover, I mentioned this yesterday, they'll probably lose, you know, millions, some of them, because it's you know, that it'd be a big hit to them to lose that income stream, to say, well, we can't, can you imagine saying to those clients, we can't do consultancy or help you with your audits or whatever anymore, because you know, we're going to become UKAS accredited, so we can only do the certification side. Because I'm sure they're picking up income via, you know, both sort of activities, really. So yeah, you're either one or the other, really. You know, you're either a certification body, or you're a consultancy, you know, at the end of the day.
Will there always be like people, like companies that can get by like we have for this long, Or will there like come a point where it's like everyone needs to be accredited, or does it just depend what sector you're in and if you're international? Or
I think it depends your customer base, but just see why I mentioned earlier about the point about people becoming aware of, you know, that certificate check. You see what I mean? The more people that become aware of that, they're going to, it could affect companies, couldn't it? They're going to go down that list. If your company's not on that list because you're with an unaccredited body, I mean, you've got to really think what impact that's going to have, you know.
And I think this is the thing when we think about compliance. At the moment, it's not a legal requirement to if you're going to go for ISAs to use a certification body that's UKAS accredited. Now, there may be within industries, and certainly for some of the standards, and in the future, that might be that if you're going to operate in that industry and provide that sort of product and need that sort of management system, there may be some regulation coming in the future as people want to tighten things up and improve things, but it's certainly not there at the moment. And if you think when we were talking about, we've done a lot of strategy, we've thought about values, vision, mission, what's important to us as an organisation, that reflects then on what sectors we're going on. You can see how Tony's values are going to be totally different to a different certification body who isn't going for UKAS accreditation. And you can see that actually for him, he potentially is losing money, if you like, through going this way. It's certainly costing him money. But for him, the values in his company are that it's important to make sure that the customer gets the right service and that the products and services producing is fit for purpose and not going to be detrimental to that organisation when they're going for the larger customers and the big contracts. And for you, George, you know, maybe you piggybacked for a time before you even got your own 9001. And as you start to grow as an organisation, I mean, Otis Lifts would not have survived and grown the size that they are if their certification body was not accredited. Would you say that's fair to say, Shadia?
Yeah.
So they just would not have got the contracts that they get and been able to grow in the way they've been able to grow if they hadn't made sure that their certification body was accredited. And that's the difference it makes. It's kind of like, where do you want to go as a company and who do you want to work with? You know, we talk about sustainability and a sustainable supply chain has got the same values as our organisation. So do you want to be working and putting money to a company that doesn't value as you as a customer and what your needs are? Or do you want to go with one that does? And that's kind of the balance that is important for top level management to think about as well.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what Linda said is spot on. And I think it's, you know, as things move on with lots of companies, you know, like I've recently said at a meeting yesterday, we've probably lost 10 companies that I used to be accredited with my previous body, which I sold at about 700 customers because we're still going through the UKAS process. But having said that, there's a number of people, because we're going for UKAS and we've got evidence of that, they've obviously happy to have joined us. Can you see the screen, by the way, Linda?
Yeah, we can see your website.
Yeah, that's our website. So if anybody wanted a free quote for yourselves, George, for instance, but we're just at the witness assessment stage now, and then we'll be UKAS accredited, you know, for scopes, some of them what you've mentioned, you know. But yeah, every assessing body, if they want to go down the route of UKAS accredited, have to go through that process. So but of course, with all of our customers, we let them know, you know, but there's yeah, if you ever wanted a free quote or anything, you know, we've got a questionnaire on here. But we have to include, sorry, George.
No, sorry, I was interrupting you, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, on here, by the way, it's just to give you, again, a bit of a flavour. When we're doing the UKAS going through 17021, we had to have a complaints procedure on here. We have to have our certification mark rules, you know, that we talked about. We have to have, you know, the process, our terms and conditions of certification on here, you know. So, so like the rules, for instance, you know, those have to be available to. So again, these are sort of telltale signs of a UKAS body, because I say it's part of that we had to show it, you see. So here's the rules on the marks and what if withdrawals, you know, what happens if, you know, a company comes out of certification and that. So that's that. So I didn't mean to quite go that. The other thing is, yeah, you've got, you know, appeals procedures. So if the assessor, that's in 17021 written, what happens if you want to appeal? You know, you don't agree with the auditor, you know, he's going to raise some non-conformance, they want to revisit or whatever. So you have to have a clear appeals procedure on here. Last one I'll show you, we've got, is it there? There's about the information, our certification terms and conditions, you know, tells you about stage 1, stage 2, again, requirement of, I don't think you'll find this on QMS's website or the unaccredited one, but this is exactly what, you know, about what our obligations are, the client's obligations and the application process and so forth, you know. So again, just useful information. Hopefully we have to have all that available to become UKAS accredited.
It gives you an indicator if you're just looking at different websites, you know, what sort of information you would expect to see on there if they're going to be UKAS accredited.
It does, yeah. I mean, I could show you this company, which I will share with last thing because of time. They're called Worldwide Quality Assurance. If I can just show you their website. Now, this company here, which I thought was interesting, I used to know the guy that owned this company, but unfortunately he passed away. But these lost their accreditation in...
You had it shared and you've just unshared us.
Oh, typically. How's that?
There we go, yeah, got it again.
Now, these were UKAS accredited back in November, and they've lost their accreditation. Now, you can't see, they don't mention it. Obviously, if they did mention it before, they can't sell the UKAS anymore. These are up and done, but they said they lost a few companies because they lost their accreditation. It's a good example because I struggle to find things on this website, to be honest. But they do, you know, management system certification and that. But I say now they're unaccredited, you see, where people like us are scrambling to get accreditation or want to get it within a certain time scale, you know. These have since lost it.
And you think when you've gone to such effort to get it in the first place, you'd want to hold on to it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think it's because, you know, it's like us, we, you know, I mean, we had Linda's on our impartiality committee, should have, but we had a good meeting yesterday because, you know, we've got some good people on the impartial, you know, some experienced people, and to get these standards, they're not easy and to maintain them, you know. So, and as I've touched on a few times, you know, the costs are quite high as well. So, you know, you've got to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's you will lose it, you know. So, I mean, obviously, we can draw on over, let's say, 30 years plus experience of working in the industry, you know, which helps a lot, to be honest. And knowing the right people, it's like the witnessed audits we've got coming up. You know, we're obviously going to use experienced people. You know, not a QMS auditor who may not have worked for accredited bodies. You know, you've got to have people that's been through that process. You know.
Yeah.
But any questions at all? By the way, so I'm conscious you've been sitting down for some time, and thanks very much for asking questions and your involvement, and pleasure to meet you all. Any burning questions just before I depart? Anyone?
No, I think it looks like we're good. So
well, hopefully I've learned some
really
things.
Useful. Really useful. Thank you, Tony. I really appreciate you coming in.
You're very welcome, and thanks for the opportunity, and good luck with everything, everyone.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, and very nice meeting you.
Pleasure to meet you as well.
Thank
and
you
at
so
least
much.
hopefully say you can, you know where to follow up on, you know, certain information and check certain things, you know, like funny enough, George was already done. So he's already been checking names on that UKAS website, which is good to do. So anyway, enjoy the rest of the day and the weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
If, you know where I am, and Linda, so give us a shout, you know, if I can help any further in the future.
Thank you.
Lovely,
everyone.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, was that useful?
Definitely.
I got a sense of it being a very subtle marketing scheme, but
Me too.
But he was able, I'm just going to stop record just 1 second.